All the rhymes that's in my mind drive me constantly right. Ayy, every time I'm on your side, where you definitely side. Ayy, section 3 inside your name so you can protect your right. Ayy, in that way, valuable as they finally safely outside. China rather than two, you need to run both they full. It's hard, not everybody can do. You fight to other way to save it. You gotta come along, implementing equity, specific performance. Spiderland, older land, you are a layman. Come along, equity, make a lot offline.
Now we're going with the lecture. See how many issues are covered. If you're really clever, then you can rap it out and louder. One drop a shout, so kill them all by finding common law. But you will never forget that equity is not a choice we got. We're getting a land piece. Then what do you always need? The perfect answer is only by deed. Though the deal was just made orally, doesn't meet requirements completely. Permission by landlord possess the property, or landlord he gets your money. Yeah.
You have a contract without a deed, and you will face many trouble indeed. If you refuse to move your feet, the best lawyer is what you need. Upon disposition can bring no action, but there is an exception, which in the legislation. If you stay over 3 years, but you still no need to fear, IPA is always there. Tomorrow you can stay in here. If you wanna stay for longer, equity will be the helper. And you say there's no freedom, but I say where's the freedom?
Right on the slides are shown on the screen. Equity gives you life, so highlighting green. We got my name in mind, for I'm in my vein. Success on my side, predestined my gene, yeah. Whoever made the law, government or the queen, I'm gonna rule the court. I'm still 19, inspired by Chen Tony, so we set out the scene. AK 四国语 worse to turn it in. Chairman mail is not fairy tale, 我先浪 stale, lay down rationale. About Mackie Price, best one with the permit 1925, start over terminal. It's lost two lines to let you memorize. No need to subscribe, you better click a like. Here is another time to give a kind remind. We want more than A minus. Woo!
If you can't understand what exactly we're rapping about, don't worry, let me explain for you. Firstly, we're dealing with the transactions at common law. Generally speaking, according to Section 4.1 of the CPO, a legal estate may be created only by deed. Note here, the legislation uses may be actually because there do exist some exceptions. Easily we can find the first exception in Section 4.2d says that even the form of the transaction is not by deed, the agreement still has legal effect so long as it meets 3 requirements which have been really familiar with. First, the lease takes effect in possession, which means that it takes effect immediately. Second, term not exceeding 3 years. Here we need to know that whether the leasee has a right to extend the term during his living will not affect the original term. Third, the lease can be reasonably obtained without a premium and at best rent. This means that you don't pay extra money to the landlord on granting the lease. In Hong Kong, residential leases are normally granted for a period of 2 years by using a formal tenancy agreement. This kind of agreement naturally falls into the category of this exception. And the second exception I think is probably designed for lazy people, which is laid down in Section 6.2 of the CPO, that the lease can also be granted by parole, i.e. orally, as long as it meets the requirements the same as those in Section 4.2d. Problem: what if the lease was granted in a way that falls into the category of neither the general rule nor the exceptions? Don't be afraid, we still have implied periodic tenancy. At common law, where the tenancy is orally allowed to move into possession by the landlord and pays rent on a periodic basis, say per month, which is accepted by the landlord, a periodic tenancy is implied by law. Besides common law, equity is also involved in this part. Provided that you are a tenant and you sign a contract but not a deed with the landlord, and the term of which exceeds 3 years. According to the rules at common law, this document must not be a legal lease. However, If it satisfies the requirement of Section 3 of the CPO and you have given valuable consideration, it will be recognized by equity as an equitable lease. If you have no possibility to get a legal title, equity may be the helper. You must ensure that it is in writing and signed by the party to be charged, i.e. the defendant, to make it an enforceable contract under Section 3 of the CPO. It should be noted that the completion date is of the essence, and the valuable consideration, of course, is also needed. Things seem to be complicated when equity comes, because there probably be conflict between common law rules and equity circumstances. In the leading case, Walsh and Lonsdale, the defendant granted the plaintiff a lease for 7 years in writing. One of the terms required rent to be paid 1 year in advance. The plaintiff entered into possession immediately, but paid rent in arrears. Later, the defendant demanded that the plaintiff should pay rent in advance in accordance with the term in the written lease granted, but the plaintiff refused to pay rent in advance. Obviously, if common law was applied, the plaintiff was an implied periodic tenant and he need not pay rent in advance. But in equity, the term in the written document required him to do so. The rule laid down by the English Court of Appeal as a result of Judicature Acts 1873 to 1875 is that where there is a conflict between common law rules and equity rules, equity prevails. In Hong Kong, the rule is now contained in the High Court Ordinance. Now we may consider that since equity is so strong that it can easily beat common law, why do we still need a deed? Just paying rent monthly is enough. Let's make a comparison. When you sign a deed, all your rights are protected by it. If there is any problem, just go to the court with your deed and sue the landlord without hesitation. However, things may not be that easy when you're involved in equity. If there is anything wrong between you and the landlord and you want to go and sue him, you need to win your case first and then ask for specific performance, which is so discretionary. After all of those, you can ask the court to compel the wrongful party to do what he has promised to do. That's really a long and tough way to go. Why don't you just get a deed in the first place? Another condition for equitable lease is the case of part performance, which mentioned in Section 3.2 of the CPO. Firstly, the test approach should be noticed according to the case Stedman. The principle is you must not first look at the oral contract and then see whether the alleged acts of part performance are consistent with it. You must first look at the alleged acts of part performance to see whether they prove that there must have been a contract, and it is only if they do so prove that you can bring in an oral contract. If you pay the money and get a key, it may sufficient to be regarded as a part performance. As for the other specific actions, it should be tested by the relation to the land.